Hello everybody and welcome to the Hospitality Maverick podcast with me, Michael Tingser. We at Hospitality Mavericks are here to inspire leaders and entrepreneurs in the hospitality industry to create heart-centered and profitable businesses from the inside out, the kind that both employees and customers love and support. This is our second episode with Karl Jones, the owner and managing director of Moshimo, the award-winning and sustainable restaurant in the heart of Brighton. The first episode we heard all about Karl's story and background in hospitality, what Moshimo is all about, sustainable sourcing, and all about their work with fish gloves. In this episode we will hear Karl's thoughts on delivery, his view on tech's role in hospitality, and some great advice for people starting out in the industry. So grab that coffee and tune in.
The thing is, Michael, it's care. It's just care. People have to start again. You know, we're not militant. I can't. I'm never going to find myself saying to people, "You must demand this from your supermarket," or "You must demand that from your supermarket." Well, people are going to have to ask questions. They're really going to have to ask questions. You can buy salmon for £3 a kilo if you're prepared to sell something that's not sustainable, not correctly sourced. You know, you've got countries who have fish farms, and for me, I'm an advocate of fish farming. A fish farm that is run well and done well and taken care of, and some of the Scottish lochs are incredible. The care, the Norwegians, the care. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible what they're doing. But if you have a country that has fish farms, and they don't even allow their own indigenous population to eat those fish because of the fear of what the fish might do to the population. And these are countries that are not known for taking care of their indigenous population at all. Then you have to start to wonder. And those fish are sold in our supermarkets. You know, they're exported into the UK and sold. So I think it's always going to be about overfishing. It's not about fishing. It's not about, if you left some areas alone for 2 years, it's incredible how quickly it regenerates. It's the raping, it's the overfishing on such a scale that is mind-boggling. And every single time I give a lecture or talk to anyone and I explain the scale, people just can't, they can't believe that you can see the weights on these fishing nets. You can see them by satellite. You can see the crisscrossing on the seabed these weights have made. They just destroy everything in their wake. And they're so big because the nets are so big. If you've got a net that's bigger than a football pitch, it's just incredible. So sadly, I can't see a light at the end of the tunnel. So we're always going to be trying new things. We're always going to do new things. We're always going to listen to what our customers want. We try to stay in that balance. We have vegans who come to eat who like, oh, I didn't know you'd be selling fish on the same day. Well, we're not a vegan restaurant. We offer vegan options and we offer vegetarian options. So we're about balance, and I think going forward, everyone should be looking at it for that. It's about balance. Otherwise, we're screwed. We're really screwed. If you asked me anything about climate change, I have no idea. I have really no idea. I don't know where I sit on the fence, off the fence, or anything. But with this whole scenario with fish,
I think it's probably all connected, isn't it?
It is all connected. I'm trying to concentrate in one area, and stay focused on that. But it is all connected. And I've met incredible people who are working on everything, and I just think I couldn't be inside your head and sleep at night. I just couldn't. And I think people who can drive those connections and I take my hat off to them. I think they're incredible, absolutely incredible to be driven in that way. I think it's incredible.
So it's really interesting. The conversation we're having now here is also that I think there's going to be a very big change in an industry of brands or restaurateurs where they actually go out and take action on a specific area. It can be the ocean, it could be the environment. You said it could be on homelessness, because you have such a big impact. While you can educate people 3 times a day. You serve them a meal. and especially around food, how you eat and what you put on your plate is going to be more and more concerning. There just came a report out. I read in the newspaper yesterday about, if we go up about 2 degrees more, it was 1.5 degrees more in average temperature in the climate, we're in serious problems.
Yeah.
Like we're talking Hunger Games conditions. And that's quite scary. And I think restaurants, there's so many restaurants out there where you have the option to make a choice inside your own business.
Yeah.
And go and tell that story like you guys have done. So that the hat off for that, and I think it's the way forward for industry, because as you say, the margins are already very tight. So you can't save yourself to success. I call it squeeze the lemon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And we are breaking point, which lead me to be interesting to hear your view of where you see the industry is. A lot of people talk about the perfect storm with rising costs and competitiveness and economic uncertainty, and now we just talked about a totally different thing, the change of the climate and the food. Very hot summer we had as well, with we can see now some of the people I'm working with, they are getting smaller vegetables and worse quality because of a hot summer in the UK.
Well, this is the strange thing, because literally this morning I was talking to a wholesaler who specialised in buying from small farms, 2 acres, 3 acres, 4 acre farms. And one of those farms, she grows the most incredible, I mean, you wouldn't think it, but the most incredible King Edward potatoes. Absolutely incredible. And she normally farms enough per year, to keep in gas storage, I think 6 to 9 months to supply, her wholesalers. And because of this year's summer, she can only do 4 weeks. So, I mean, you're literally talking about 7 months to 8 months of her selling window. It's just gone. It's literally gone, just because we had that hot summer here. And it's nothing to do with, could she have done, because these are the questions I asked. It's nothing to do like, could she have done more in irrigation or any of that. It's just the ground is too baked. It's too hot for a potato to spread and grow. It's got to be able to push its way through a good moist soil and so on and so forth. Now, those stories are coming out more and more and more. There's always a flip side. A great summer in Europe meant the price of peppers are going to drop, the price of aubergines are going to drop. All of those vine, fruit, veggies, the price is going to drop because it was a great summer and they crave the sun to grow, those sort of things. But I think our high street has already been affected recently by some of the things that have happened with these chains. England is so different from the rest of Europe that from how we've screwed up retail. We've got these high streets with dead areas, with boarded up shops and boarded up supermarkets and boarded up chains. We've just really, really messed it up. You see it in some little city enclaves in Europe, but you don't see it on the scale that we're seeing it here. And a lot of it is because everyone did this whole, not even make hay. It was, let's make money and not worry about how those demographics are going to be affected. You can pick 5 chains, those 5 chains are there day in, day out, that will have one of their restaurants in every high street next door to each other. They've probably really lobbied to fix the rent, fix the rate. They'll operate looking at a return in under 3 years on cost and so on and so forth. And then it's exactly the same as anyone independent in that road, except of course they have the juggernaut of who they are to push it through the rest of the year. Now, people don't understand, if you go in somewhere to order a pizza and you're going to get a free ice cream as your offer, that free ice cream hasn't been purchased by the restaurant. That free ice cream has come along because the restaurant has pressurized their supplier to give them something for free. Some of the big drink companies at the moment, they are pushing, it doesn't matter about saying the brand. If you go anywhere now, I've just literally come back from Europe, you go anywhere, nobody drinks Diet Coke anymore. No one drinks Coke anymore. Everyone drinks Zero. Now, England is very strange in the fact that they cannot make the British change over to Coke Zero. They just won't go for it. So restaurants are being saturated with cases and cases and cases of free Coke Zero. I mean, they're being used as giveaways because they're trying to push. Well, you know, if you see a deal that says salad, pizza, and a soft drink, for $9.95, what they're doing is the Coke Zero didn't cost them anything. They've probably enticed their wholesaler with the salad. So you're getting the pizza for the price that you normally pay for it anyway. You're getting these 2 free editions. But they can do that on the scale that they are pushing. But you can't do that if you're an independent pizza restaurant in that same road, on that same high street, that is already struggling by what's happened with these chains. But I think the good thing is, maybe not so good for the people who are employed by them, but the good thing is in this last few months we've seen this kickback that's happening with these chains, and I think that is going to change the high street profile. I think that is going to change the restaurant industry. I think it's going to change in a massive way the workforce. People are already moving away from working in our industry, and hopefully this might be something that will actually bring them back, because they've been bleached and wrung out and left to dry, because you could be on a regular week of 40 hours a week, and then someone tells you, oh, we're quiet now, we're seasonal, you're down to 20. How do you survive? And they have no fight back. They could have been working in some of these restaurants for 4 or 5 years and then suddenly told you're actually taking a pay cut, and you're not getting any service charge, and you're not going to get the hours. So I think people leaving our industry in their droves has been a really bad thing. But I think with the rise of the independents, I think it will make people come back, because you do now get people coming through who want to learn the business, the service industry. We don't have colleges for it like Europe. We don't see it in this country as a career. It's an amazing career, but we don't teach anyone to do it. So anyone you get, you've got to teach them, unless they've been at it for a long time, which is a problem because of the chains. They want people who can come in, stand at the table, write down an order, and go away and ring it through the till. So they're teaching people to be cashiers. They're not teaching them to be service industry staff.
So they're de-skilling the workforce.
Oh, completely.
Because I come originally from Denmark, where there is an education behind and specialised in hospitality, even at manager level, even at university level. And I can see the difference sometimes, because when you present, for example, could be P&L analysis, which you need to understand the numbers. People don't know how.
I have no idea.
They have a machine that put out a number, and then it's either red or green. Or there's bonus or no bonus.
Well, the clever thing that the groups do is they actually give you a spreadsheet P&L that's already filled in. You fill in the numbers they're asking you to achieve, and that gives you the bottom line that they're demanding. And this is why having no skill, putting no skill, makes life so much easier for them, because they're the buffer to the shareholder. Shareholder is king, always. They're making sure that those dividends are paid out, because without the dividends there's no investment for future openings. And this is where it's all gone wrong, because you've got companies now who are sitting on restaurant chains that are worth nothing. They've got maybe 40% of the chain is driving the sales. The other 60% is being supported by that 40%. Operations managers used to look after 12 sites. They're now looking after 48 sites and 50. You'd have an operations manager conference. There'd be that many in some of the big pub groups. There'd be that many operations managers. You'd have to have them all at conference. They ran 4 sites or 5 sites and delivered. It's exactly the same scenario as removing the workforce from the floor. If you've got to take care of 35 sites, all you're going to do is drive figures. You probably spend all day in the car crunching those numbers in to make your workmasters happy. But it works in the same scenario. If we've got no skill in our industry, if we don't train our people, if we don't teach our people, not everyone is a chef. Everyone watches these chef programs and think, I'm going to go off and be a chef, and I'll be on TV and I will do this and everything else. Some people don't start as a chef. Some people just want to be a good waiter and earn decent money. And if you spend no time in teaching them or giving them any skills, it's crazy. And of course, we've spent this last 10 years with, I'm not anti anything about, people moving around the world, but we've spent 10 years almost not hiring English people, which in one way has been great for us because we've been able to find people with great skills in the service industry, people who grew up serving customers and taking care of customers. But of course now that's changing. So whereas I never had anyone English coming to asking for a job, I'm now seeing that number. I'm seeing that number rise. So I'm not quite sure what's happening with the workforce, but suddenly the English are out there looking for jobs. I don't know where they've lost their jobs, but they're out there looking for jobs, and we are going to see that difference. We already see now when we advertise a job, it's quite funny because you can map the economic climate across Europe. So when Italy was really suffering, every application we had was from an Italian, and the same with the Spanish and so on and so forth. So in that sense it's quite funny because we do get these snapshots of everything that's happening in the world, really. It's not just what's happening on our front door.
And there's always the industry that is hit first together with construction. That's been my experience. That
although I always think England's a little bit different. The English are funny. They will continue always to find their money for drink and entertainment and food and entertainment, and they tend to make their savings elsewhere. The Italians, for example, when the climate's bad, all the entertainment goes back to in the home. When the climate's good, they're out in the restaurants. But it goes back to, yes, come round to ours, we'll have a bowl of pasta and a few bottles of wine, and they're more about the company and enjoying the company. The UK tends to be, and entertaining at home now is almost as costly as entertaining outside. This is why the drink industry have buggered themselves up. If you can pay the same for lagers you can pay for water in a supermarket, of course people are not going to spend, as soon as beer reach the point of being £5 a pint. I mean, that's just incredible. £5 a pint. With that £5, you can buy 6 cans of lager in a supermarket. You're paying for 4 and you get 2 for free. So of course people are not going out to do that kind of entertaining. They're doing that at home pre a night out. All this pre-drinking that goes on. And I think that was a huge mistake on the part of the drinks industry. They should never, ever, for whatever reasons, in Iceland, the supermarkets are locked for alcohol at certain times of the day. Here it's 9 o'clock in the morning and you can just go and buy beer at cheaper than water, cheaper than bread, cheaper than milk. And that's been a massive mistake. And it's affected the industry in a huge way. But as an industry, we're not very inward facing, and it takes I think what's happening now with the big chains, I think this is when they've started to think, oh shit, right, maybe we shouldn't have bought a vodka brand, and maybe we shouldn't have bought a lager brand and forced it on our outlets.
So are you positive with the future of the industry, and see there is options out there, but there needs to be a change? That's what you're saying as well. There's going to be a radical shift now, and you say there's already happening for many of the big ones, and everybody have read in the news what's going on.
Listen, everyone who owns a restaurant, if their restaurant's successful, they'd love to own 2 or 3. I'd like to have another Moshi somewhere, but we couldn't replicate what we do. We're in a great situation in Brighton with how we're set up. I couldn't do that in Bournemouth or in another town. I think what's going to happen now is, I believe people will come into our industry without looking for the obvious, make it rich, make it a brand, make it a chain. How can I get up to 6 outlets so I can sell my brand? I think that's going to stop. And I think that is fantastic. I really do. Some restaurants, it's fantastic having another 1 or 2 sites, because you learn stuff from the sites you're in that maybe you can't change the operation of. I could open a really successful vegan restaurant tomorrow, easily, because we've learned from our work with vegan food and restorative eating. But I think what's going to happen is the brands are going to realise very quick, and I think they are realising now, that they're going to have to either rebrand half of their chains or a quarter of their chains. Rebrand it with what? I don't know. I think it has to be, again, looking at sustainable food. You know, it's taken so long for the UK to realise that a plant-based diet is massive in the rest of the world. It's on the rise like nothing that's ever been seen before. I mean, it's just incredible. And again, kept out by the UK chains and kept out by the UK brands. You know, the biggest brand in the UK at the moment has just put 4 vegan options on their Asian menu, and they want the world to turn upside down and applaud them for that. It's like, what are you doing? You're so behind. And I think until someone gets in with those groups and in with those chains and starts to say, okay, you know, your high streets are going to die. They literally will die. If you've pushed out all the retail and filled it up with a food outlet, unless someone goes in that food outlet, it's just going to die. Look what the outcry used to be about pound shops. Pound shops have gone under. That's it, they've gone. They went under. Why didn't they become £1.50 shops? Why did they stay as pound shops? I mean, I don't understand that. So, you know, we see economies change everywhere. Why didn't they just become a £1.25 shop or a £1.50 shop or a £2 shop? You know, they could have kept some of those high streets open. They are massive sites, most of them. They're sites that you could only put a store in. You know, you couldn't put a shoe shop in. You'd have to put a store or something with a concession of stores. So it's strange how this is. I think personally, towns like Brighton are going to be survivors. We survived through the last recession. We bucked the trend. We bucked the trend on Brexit. Brighton always bucks the trend on everything. I think there was a lot of success internally in this city. I think I think it's really important that other cities look at how we do. We're not perfect, but how we do some of our stuff, how we work our retail. Why do we have so many independents? We're not it's not like Brighton's been injected with a different serum. You know, we're the same people, but we appreciate the independence and we appreciate the independent retailing. It works fantastic, and people, you know, they bolster and they push their shoulders to the wheel to make them successes, and I think that's incredible. And I think, you know, some big CEOs and some op directors could they couldn't do themselves any harm to come to a city like Brighton and understand why every Bella Pasta is not full. There is a reason, you know, it's an absolute reason, and they need to look at that. And I think in that way, yeah, I think food retail, I don't believe it will survive, not on that scale. I think it needs to change, and I think they are changing, but it's taking time. It's taking a lot of time. Anyone who had the ambition to have 300 restaurants in a chain, you've got to really sit back and rethink that now. You know, it's just...
And I agree with you. I think that's actually happening as we speak.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of concerns around, especially when people have built very big estates and have brands that's not performing, because suddenly also the consumer is starting asking questions about sustainability. You know, how do you treat your staff and all these things. What about delivery? Many people say that delivery is one of the, you know, buying food to home, like Deliveroo has come, you know, Uber Eats. Is that a next big thing for restaurants?
It changed the face of Brighton. It changed the face of eating out. I think probably over the years it's like 4 or 5 sort of semi-restaurant delivery systems have chanced it in Brighton. It didn't work, you know, it just didn't work. They couldn't get organised, they didn't have enough riders or people in charge. There was no proper system. You know, as a consumer you had to call the restaurant and then say such and such a delivery company was going to pick it up, and some companies, they paid for it on purchase point, and some companies, they wanted to be paid over the phone. It was just a mess. Not everyone is, but I'm a huge fan of Deliveroo. I think Deliveroo is incredible. I see where they're going in the future. You know, I've said from the very beginning, why would anyone build up such a network without there being an end goal? When they first came into Brighton, everyone was like, oh my God, what, we're going to pay a commission for someone to deliver our food. And for me, from the beginning, it's like, well, you're paying a commission on income you never had, and you'll have no overheads, just the commission. What are you talking about? You're not involving anyone with table service. You're not involving anyone with an allocation of covers or anything else. It's takeaway, it's delivery. So I was very happy. It's been very successful for us.
So it's worked really well for you.
Oh, incredible! Brighton. We have BRA, the Brighton Restaurant Association. We're all independent restaurants. I think probably 80% of us use Deliveroo. We all sit there with our sour lips and, oh my God, the commission charge. But we'd never get rid of them. We've got an outlet in Hove, in what the press love to call their dark ops, their black kitchens or whatever, which is
dark kitchen.
Dark kitchens, which is really bizarre. And it was quite funny because a lot of Brighton councillors were talking about that, and they went to visit it and they were blown away because every restaurant has their own kitchen, but it's under one roof. So, and it just means that you can expand the delivery area and the delivery zone. So I think the fantastic thing about it, and this is what people don't get, if there are enough restaurants delivering, it means your golden loyalty customer can order your food and eat your food at home without having to come out, which doesn't sway them from spending their money with you. They're spending their money with you, they just haven't come in on site. So are you losing a cover? Are you losing a customer? Are you losing any money by that? For me, no. The costs outweigh the outlays. It's the same thing. So I think it's great being able to offer that to your customer. We normally go in on Thursdays, so we won't be able to go this Thursday. We haven't got a babysitter. If they phone up, we get so many people who, give us a call and say, I've just ordered from Deliveroo, can you cancel our booking? It's raining, it's horrible, we've got flu, the kids are sick, whatever. For me, it's ideal. But it's got to be done well.
So there's a balance, as you said, as well, because I met operators where suddenly 70% of their revenue is taken up by a third-party delivery platform, which is not good.
Okay, yeah, we haven't had that. No, yeah, we've been quite balanced with that.
But especially takeaway businesses and so on. I think I agree. There is a use for sit-down restaurants, and if it's done well, it has to be done well. Of course. What about technology? A lot of people talk about the new saviour to the industry. Technology is gonna.
But again, it's like what works for you. I personally, I hate. I'm very typical in that I hate change. With till systems and operations and order systems, I hate change. If I get something that I like, and my team know that I'm with a sledgehammer making it fit what I like without thinking about them at all. Listen, over the years, how many things have come out that are supposed to save our lives? And if you know how to write a P&L by hand, that's where you have to start first. If you know how to write an order by hand, it's also where you have to start first. I mean, we're all cursed with these amazing till systems that run on Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. You only need to lose signal for a minute and your printers are down and your tills are jammed and everything else. None of them are foolproof. They're all affected by your surroundings. If you can do it the old-fashioned way first and then just get the system to do for you what result you want from it, that's it. I'd never saturate. I know what our P&L looks like, and I know what our figures look like, and I know what our purchase costs are and our wage costs and everything else. I like to think, I want my key staff to know what those figures are weekly. There's no point, monthly and quarterly. You're too late. If you're looking at something quarterly, you're screwed. Yeah, you can't do anything. So I like them to know, and I don't use any of our technology to club anybody. The only thing I say every week is about wage percentage. That's it. You've got this percentage. If you use this percentage, it's high, but it doesn't kill the business. Don't go over it. And if you do go over it, have a really good valid reason for it. I do like a good payroll system that tells you every day what your wage percentage is. I do like that, and it's, people forget on a day where income is less, you can immediately correct that in the rotoring system. You can do stuff that doesn't affect your employees' lives and doesn't affect the customer's life. You can just be careful with stuff, Sometimes giving everyone a 3-hour lunch break rather than a 1 or a 2, they're like, oh, thank God, I can go to the supermarket, I can do a bit of shopping, I can do this. 3 hours and 3 hours and 3 hours is 9 hours. 9 hours might be all you needed to save on your rota for that day. So sometimes your rota system can't tell you all of that. It just,
you need to have the understanding.
You need to be hands-on. Yeah. You need to, and going back to our very first conversation when I was saying about when I was in operations, how saturated it was with those people. There should be a trend in the entire. I'm a big believer. I'm hands-on. I'm there every day, and I'm a big believer. It's funny. On Monday night, someone saw me serving tables who I know from another area of my life. They see me doing. I'm involved with a lot of things, and they said, "Oh my God, we never knew you actually served the food yourself." What did you think, that I'm sat in some glass office somewhere, like just telling people? But I think there is a huge need, because if you're a graduate who's worked as an area manager and you've worked your way to an operations manager and you've got 30 sites or 40 sites, the only thing you know about your sites is what you see when you walk in the door. Give that manager 20 minutes of your allotted time and then you're back on the motorway to the next site. I think it's really important that people actually do go back to the floor and work and learn and get an understanding of issues. There's a lot of women leaving our industry, and it's because of childcare. You used to have really great solid team members who were fantastic with customers and knew all the customers' names and people adored them, and whatever. They'd have babies and they'd come back to work because they either had a great support system or nursery schools for free. And now, of course, and they're even trying to get rid of childcare vouchers. I've got chefs who are on childcare vouchers, and they're literally trying to squeeze the life out of those as well. And it only gives them £300 or so a month. It doesn't give them anything else. And it'd be great if some of the people in charge went back to the floor and thought, okay, so what is it like running around all day with this quattro formaggi pizza? What are we getting with our people? What's happening with our customers? I don't think that happens enough.
I had a conversation yesterday with people where they came up why things didn't work out in the front line, and my question was, when was the last time you spent more than an hour in the front line with the same people?
Yeah.
And it was a long time ago. They couldn't remember. Yeah. And it's because there becomes this disconnect between the front line or head office or your front line, your service people, that you really don't understand the problems they are in. You think you're giving them the tool and the resources, and you're not. They absolutely maybe hate their job, but you really don't understand why they hate it. And it could be a thing like the child voucher. It's good. Very simple thing. Just make work. Don't give them tablets that don't work.
Yeah.
Put in the order. And I think there's also something about coming back to. So I grew up with my mom and dad's restaurants where everything, you had to know how to do it on a calculator and understand things.
Yeah.
I think we need to go back and train some of those skills so we actually can have, know what we're doing, know our cost on a weekly basis. I meet people all the time. So what is going to happen today? If sales is going to be that today, what's that going to mean for the week?
Yeah. They
should know that just on, take that calculator and do that, or have some kind of system on a prime cost. That's why it goes wrong. Labor goes up, food cost goes up. Nobody looks after it. Then the month is gone. We need to save next month, and the squeeze starts. So totally agree with you. There's a skill there. In the end of our podcast, we always ask the guest if there's one advice they can give to people that either are in the industry, but maybe also more wants to launch into the industry, either have their own restaurants or working in the industry. What would that advice be from all your years of experience?
I think if you're going to launch into the industry, be sure about your product, whatever it is, whether it's a battered sausage or these amazing gold-plated ducks that you spend £300 for in London. You know, whatever is your product, you've got to know your product, understand your product, have faith in your product, not think your product is, well, not think it's risk averse, but understand the risks with your product. And the other thing is that you just can never believe you're going to be hands off. Don't ever try and think you're going to be hands off. Don't ever try and think you're going to get, midweek off or weekends off. Or if you're passionate about what you're doing and you believe what you're doing, this industry will never be 9 to 5. It can't be 9 to 5, and you have to be prepared for that. The worst people who screw up in our industry are the people who think owning their own place suddenly makes them able to tell someone, get out. And that's the worst mistake. Because that one time that they say to someone, get out, or that one time they're rude to a customer at the door, then affects everything else they do, because then they become rude to the staff, and rude to the suppliers, and rude to their bank manager, and rude to their, this whole thing about, I've worked this life of drudgery for years and now I'm going to be the other side of that coin. If you have that outlook, it doesn't work. And that's what my fear always is about independents that open up in good towns like Brighton. It's like, I hope this person is someone who can sustain this business and run it well, because it affects if you've got 10 restaurants of independents and 2 of them are screw-ups, as I call them, and the other 8 get affected. Everyone wants the footfall coming towards them. If it's busy here tonight, you go in there. But if you know that area is offering a great food offering, all the better. But a couple of crazies in there and that's it. You're, Basil Fawlty's, it's not good.
Well, that was 2 advice, but they're 2 very good advice.
They're entwined.
Yeah, entwined, yeah. So, thank you very much, Karl, for coming here today and sharing your story and telling a bit about you see the industry. And we also got around the environment, or the ocean. You're not for the environment, you're for the ocean. So yeah, really appreciate that, and I'm sure that there's going to be more to come in the future.
Thanks.
Other conversation to have here. So yeah, thank you once again, and looking forward coming down and having some food very soon with you as well.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's all we had time for today. Thank you, Karl, for once again sharing great insights and stories about the industry. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please give us a like, share, or even better, tell us what you think. Is technology part of your strategy to ensure a profitable future? Do you, like Karl, also think that we have an obligation to make impact on things outside our businesses? To make an impact that's just more than profit? We hope you enjoyed today's podcast with me, Michael Tingsager. Tune in very soon for more industry insights. In the meantime, learn more about us at hospitalitymavericks.com, and thanks for listening, and be Maverick.